Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz, and first up, I am doing a review. However, I'm not doing a review of the Tiger because don't know whether or not I've done one of the Tiger yet. I'm not too sure, but anyway, this is the Tiger in the Gamescom 2016 special camouflage that they released, which changes the Tiger name in battle to the Tiger 1 Gamescom. So you've got that. And, well, first off, they added, the newest camo that caught my eye was this, the Inferno camo, and it looks alright on the Tiger. They've sort of got this grey gradient around sort of the edges of every piece of armor slash every viewport, which sort of doesn't work on some tanks. The German tanks especially, well, the German tanks it sort of works on because the grey sort of looks like ash because this is the Inferno camouflage, so it's supposed to be sort of black magma rock with these cracks of lava, well, magma, underneath them. And for the Germans it actually sort of works because the grey sort of acts like ash. However, on some of them, like the British where it's the sort of tan yellow, or the Russians where it's the not olive green because that's the Americans thing, but for the sort of Russian green it sort of doesn't quite work. So there's the Tiger with it on, but of course I've got the Gamescom special skin because I just like the special skins. They change their names and things. But for an example of what tank I think it looks good on, you've got the Panzer 5/4 here with the Inferno skin, which I think actually it works fairly well on. Then you've got the the Panzer 2, sorry, with it on, which does also actually work fairly well, in my opinion. And then you've got the Micro Mouse, because look at that. Look at that. It suits the Micro Mouse. It is your death. You will die. You will burn from the Micro Mouse. So yeah, there's this with the Don, and that's pretty much everything that I put it on. I put it on the Churchill, but other than the Churchill, and I think the Churchill works because it's got this flat side, and it just has this one crack which just runs down the entire side of the tank, which just looks awesome. Like you can almost track it from here, down here, sort of cracks up here, down here. You can see the crack as it goes across the tank, sort of around here. You can track it right from the front of the hull to the back, and you can also do it over this side. So I think it just looks really cool on that. But other than that, the Sentinel I didn't think it really worked on, nor the Matilda. This has got its own special camo, as does this. The Tetrarch doesn't really work. The Hetzer is one of those ones where I think it sort of works, but then again I think it sort of doesn't. I mean, it sort of works, but I don't know, I'll have to keep that in reserve for what I think of it. But then here's the other one, Shattered Ice, and then you've got the Undeniable Advantage. But so that's what it looks like. Tankenstein you can't fit it on. Tiger I've got Gamescom. Panzer B2, this is what it looks like on it. It sort of works, but then again I think it's sort of it works, but then it sort of doesn't, because this half of it is still the basic grey, which gives a nice sort of gradient, but then I don't know, because I still have this undeniable advantage, but then you got the Panzer S-35, which again it sort of works on, but then sort of doesn't. Let me know what you think of it. And then those two I've got it on. The T-34, you can't put it on. This thing has got its special Nomad camo, which I'm not going to change. The T7 combat car, it sort of doesn't work. It's just too small of a target to put it on. And then this thing you can't put it on. But the other reason that I was starting on the Tiger is because that's the total amount of XP that I accumulated, bearing in mind that all I had to research once I bought the tank was actually the top engine. The rest of it I researched with free XP. So I've gathered this much XP from just accumulating it to research the Tiger 2. This is the amount of free XP I have. I can get the Tiger 2. Look, I can research the Tiger 2. I mean, I could get the E100 pretty easy, because Blitz, you know, free XP works differently in Blitz. You can't apply it to the crew, you have to actually apply it to the direct. There you go, excellent. You have to actually accumulate free XP and then convert it like that. But anyway, so yeah, I could get the Tiger 2, but I would have to save up a lot of credits. This is the tank that I'm actually going to be going over, which is the whole reason of this review. I've wasted like 5 minutes talking about other crap, but this is the tank that we're going to be looking at, which is the T14. So this is what the Inferno looks like, and it sort of works with the side skirts, but then I just think, I just prefer to have this sort of camo. So the T14 is a Tier 5 premium tank that was removed from the premium shop for PC, but they brought it back specially for Blitz, and my Blitz right now is sort of... my Blitz account is my sort of collector's edition tanks. So all of the rare special tanks that I can get a hold of that I like, such as the T34 Independence, the Micro Mouse, the 5/4, which is definitely my best purchase ever. I love this tank. You know, the Panzer B2, Tankenstein, the Su-76I, the Sentinel when it was first released on Blitz, and then for PC. You know, the T23-3. I mean, this tank is fantastic as well. This is definitely a very good purchase right here. But you know, this thing and the 5/4 are definitely my best tanks, I think, on here that I'm really pleased about getting. I mean, there are a couple of other things: the Type 59, the Hargo special skin, the Edelweiss and the Nameless from the Valkyria Chronicles. So yeah, I had a look at them, and it's all right. This looks like a sort of anime Tiger 2, and this looks like an anime Panther. But yeah, this thing had my attention because it is sort of like a Tiger 2. But then I looked at it, and I looked at it in game, you know, a couple of videos on YouTube, and then I just thought, I probably won't. So, but anyway, T14, Tier 5 special. Tier 5 heavy tank, removed from the premium shop, came on Blitz, got it on Blitz, fantastic. So it has a 39% protection, 30% firepower, 35% shot effectiveness, 29% maneuverability. So 750 HP for a Tier 5 heavy tank. 750. Let's have a look. Ooh, tank. Tier 5 heavy tank, T1 heavy. With the upgraded turret means that you will have, of course the slider doesn't work, means that you have got, with the upgraded turret, 780 HP, which is more than the T14, only slightly. As for the Germans, they get they just get the VK 3001H. With the upgraded turret, you get 780 again, which, yeah, I was looking at the right thing, which is still more than the T14. Let's have a look at, of course, the KV1. You've got the KV1 with the upgraded turret. You get 770 HP, which is still more. The Churchill 3, 840, yeah. The Japanese don't get heavy tanks, thankfully. And then, of course, the British, you have got the Excelsior, which has got 770, and then you've got the Churchill 1, which gets 840. So, out of all of the heavy tanks, it has the least amount of HP, only slightly below the Russians and the Americans, and the Germans, I think it was, who have also got pretty low HP, but they're sort of all on the same benchmark. And compared to other Tier 5 heavies, those ones are sort of the lower end of the HP, but this is even lower with 750, so it doesn't have a particularly large amount of health compared to other Tier 5 heavies. I mean, let's just compare it to a couple of other Tier 5 tanks. 5/4, 700, and that's a medium tank. This thing, heavy tank, only has 50 more HP than the 5/4, and the 5/4 has got better armor in some aspects, so yeah. Let's look at another Tier 5 tank. The Chinukai, 720. Only 30 HP less, and this is a Tier 5 medium. And that's a Tier 5 heavy tank. This thing does not have a lot of health, just at Tier 5. let alone heavy tanks. I mean, putting that in perspective, that's not a lot of HP. Um, does the armor help it? Not really, no. 50, 50 all round for the hull, and 101 for the turret. So 50, 101, 50, 101, 50, 101, 50, 101. This is not particularly great armor. However, it is highly sloped at the front, as you can see here. So if you angle it, yeah, you'll bounce some things because it's only 50. However, that is some angling right there. That's some angling right there. So you can bounce some things if you sort of angle it like this. If you're side scraping, that's slopey angle. That's sort of like the Russian Tier 5 medium T-34, not the American premium heavy T-34. The Tier 5 Russian medium T-34. That's also got sloping sides, and the slope sides of the T-34 are only 45mm thick. However, they do bounce things because they are sloped. This is 50, and it's slightly less sloped. However, they probably give around and about the same sort of armor thickness. So, if you side scrape, yeah, you can bounce some things. Your turret as well, you've got this sort of weird. You've got this weird gun mantlet, which is it's sort of. It looks the same as the M4 Sherman's stock turret gun mantlet, which means that that's probably pretty thick, I'm thinking. I mean, it's sort of like an odd thing, just sort of bulged out here. So that could be the thickest part of the turret. I mean, the rest of it's 101, and 101 thickness is pretty good for turret armor. So yeah, it's got pretty good turret armor. It's slightly rounded and sloped. It's like a Sherman's turret. Yeah, it's sort of rounded and sloped. The front of it has also got a slight sloping roundedness there. I mean, these bits, the turret cheeks, those are also sloped back at an angle, which means that you could bounce some things, but I think the gun mantlet is sort of the most well armoured, I would suspect, at the front of the tank. As for the front armour thickness, like I said, it is slopes at a fair angle. So if you're angling and things like that. However, from the front, the machine gunner's port right here, the front machine gun, this is going to be a weak spot because, well, look at it. It's sunk back in the hull and it's a flat side. So if you're facing at it from the front like this, go for this area. I mean, from here it's sort of impossible to hit, but then if they're angling like this, aim for this unless they're coming around a corner. Yeah, the double layer tracks do help give some spaced armor. I'm not too sure whether these side skirts actually count as spaced armor because they're probably very flimsy. They could be the same sort of thing as the Panzer IV side skirts, where they're basically just supposed to defend against bazookas, or in the American tanks case, Panzerschrecks. So I don't know whether they actually count as armor in World of Tanks, sort of spaced armor, or whether they're there because they are on the historical prototype, but they're only for Panzerschreck fire. That could be it. So I don't know whether these count as spaced armor. So yeah, may have to do some testing with that. But double layer tracks will help eat some shots because those are very thick tracks. Look at that. They're M4 improved track length. I mean, there's regular American track width. There's the T. Well, actually, that doesn't really help. But those are some pretty big tracks. Then again, the American tanks are just big in general on everything. Panzer II. There's the Panzer II tracks. There's the T14 tracks. They're pretty massive. Although the Panther, yeah, just general large tracks really. So there's that. Anyway, I think we've gone over the armor enough. Let's go over the engine here. So the engine you get is a Ford Gaz, which has got 720 horsepower with a 20% chance of fire and impact. So 720 engine power for a 48 ton tank. 20 degrees per second traverse, 21% degree per second turret traverse. Not particularly great top speed, 34. It's a pretty sluggish tank. 720 horsepower for a 48 ton tank. That's not that great power to weight ratio. I mean, the hull traverse speed, oh, that's pretty painful. 20, oh, that's horrible. I mean, the turret traverse as well, 21. Oh no, that's not good traverse figures right there. Let's have a look at another slow traversing turret, T14. Get out the turrets here. Has a where are we? Here we go. 18 degrees per second, and that's only 3 degrees per second less than the T14. So, yeah, it's not a particularly mobile tank. The engine is not particularly great. It's a Tier 7 engine, however, it doesn't have particularly great top speed or maneuverability. There's the suspension, a load limit of 50 tons, so you do have a little bit of wiggle room there, about 2 tons to fit on modules and things. So yeah, but the 20 degrees per second hull traverse is not great. Then we come to the gun, which is even worse than not great. It's pretty abysmal. Because you've got the 75mm gun M3, and if you've ever played something like, I don't know, a stock Sherman, there you go. There's the same gun, the 75mm gun M3, and I think we can all agree that this gun is horrible. I mean, yeah, it's the stock gun on the M3 Lee. I don't know, it's the upgraded gun on the M3 Lee, and people don't like the M3 Lee very much. It's not a great gun. Well, if we have a look at the stats on the T14, it has a 7.59 rate of fire, rounds per minute, 92 average penetration, 127 with APCR. It's not great. It's not great at all. That is... I think a Tier 4 tank would not like to have that armor penetration, and that's a Tier 4 tank. A Tier 3 tank would be fine with that penetration. It would love that penetration. Tier 4 or 5 tank? Oof, no. You will struggle to get through your own armor, I think, with this armor penetration. I mean, if the gun that you have can't get through the armor on your own tank, that's how you know it's a bad gun. Because every gun should be able to get through the armor of the same tank. So if you were to come up against another T14, you should be able to penetrate the T14's armor with the T14's gun. If it's a bad gun, it won't be able to do that, which is what this gun can't. 92 average pen, 101 frontal turret. I mean, it's only 50 at the front of the hull. However, that's some sloping right there. I mean, 92 penetration is not very good. Just, it's horrible. I mean, the M4 improved on the PC. I've done a review on it. Go and have a look. That's got the same gun, and that sees Tier 7s. This tank, I think, has got preferential matchmaking, so it only sees Tier 6s, but that gun still isn't very good. I mean, 20 with high explosive, 127 APCR, 160 average damage with AP, and APCR 200 with high explosive, but it's high explosive 20mm. Tier 5? Nothing at Tier 5 has got 20mm of armor. I mean, no. So yeah, it's a choice. Armor piercing, if you do penetrate with 92 average pen, you do 160 damage. So, yeah. And before you can even get a chance to penetrate the tank, you've got to hit it. With 0.46 dispersion and 2.5 seconds aim time, you're not going to hit very often unless you're point blank range. And this tank, the armor suits it as a brawler, which means that dispersion isn't that much of an issue. I mean, this is very much a brawling tank, so dispersion is sort of negligible when you're brawling tanks, which is what this tank does. However, it's still not... If you're brawling, then you'll want to hit weak spots. I mean, you could just raw power, just penetration through. However, 92 pen, you can't do that, so you have to aim for weak spots. And if you're brawling, you'll obviously have an increased chance to hit, but still 0.46 dispersion, 2.5 seconds aim time, it's not a great gun. I mean, the summary of this tank is pretty much, it has good armour, but not a great gun. I think that's the summary of the tank. The equipment that I fitted is a gun rammer. You'll want a gun lane drive for that aim speed. Improved vents is also not a bad idea. Um, you probably won't need this for the suspension durability unless you really don't want your tracks getting blown off. But after all, there is no artillery. In World of Tanks Blitz, you don't have artillery, so you don't have to worry about getting your tracks blown off and then artillery blitzing you because you're stuck still. And anyway, modules repair very quickly in Blitz, so I probably don't really need this because you're not a light tank, you're not going to be barreling over hills, blowing off your tracks yourself or anything. You're a heavy tank, so yeah, you probably don't need that. Ammo rack, in case your ammo rack keeps getting damaged, wet ammo rack. Camonet, no, you're not going to be staying still. This is very much a brawler tank, so you'll want to be at the head of the action. You'll want to be you'll want to be spearheading the charge. That's what I was trying to say. So you won't want Camonet the same way as you won't want binos. If you really want to extend your view range, go with coated optics. Don't go with binos. You might want the 25% extra, but that's when you're sitting still. And this tank is not a sniper tank, so you will want coated optics over binos. Spawn liners, probably not a bad idea, however, well, this is armor protection from ramming and explosions. I mean, it's a particularly sloped tank, however, as to whether or not the spawn liner affects sloping, I'm not too sure, but sure thing, if you want a spawn liner, go ahead and fit it. And then you've just got toolboxes, just always useful. So, I think the most useful things would be gun rammer, gun lane drive, and improve vents. But it's up to you to suit your playstyle. I mean, switch it up. I always go with the gun rammer where I can, and then if the aim time is anything more than 2.3 seconds, then I go with a gun lane drive. But I mean, you can go with it just with a gun rammer, but it's up to you. You can hold 90 shells of 75mm M3 ammo, which you will need. I mean, at minimum, you'll get 69 penetration. It just had to be 69 for penetration, didn't it? And then at maximum, you'll get 115, and you'll do between 120 and 200 average damage. So, 69 at the minimum. Oof, not like great. I mean, with APCR, you'll get a maximum of 159, with a minimum of 95. So, yeah. As for your provisions, you've got standard fuel and improved fuel for plus 3% to engine power and tire traverse, or plus 10. Activated automatically, permanent throughout the one battle. So you may want it for the engine power and tire traverse. I mean, not a bad idea on this tank. I mean, 21 degrees per second tire traverse, 20 degrees per second hull traverse. I can understand using improved fuel. Then you've got a can of delicious cola or a case of cola for plus 3 and plus 10 to crew mastery respectively. Yeah, I mean, you could go ahead and chuck that on. Then you've got protective kit for protection of the crew from injuries, 10% to speed and module repair, 20% to fire protection, and 10% to ammo and fuel tank durability. So, once again, activated automatically, permanent throughout a battle. I mean, yeah, you could go with that. It's up to you. I never use provisions, but if you want to use them, sure, go ahead. Then you come to consumables. You've got your standard repair, first aid, and fire extinguisher. You could go with the power boost for the engine power. You could go with that. Yeah. 20% to engine power for 15 seconds with a 75-second cooldown. One thing that I do like about Blitz, one of the many things that I do like about Blitz, is that you can use these things multiple times in a battle. You're not limited to using it once, and then you can't use it again. You have a 90-second cooldown, so you can use it, and then after the 90 seconds, you can use it again. So, yeah. Which is a very nice feature. So you could go with engine power boost. Then you've got adrenaline for plus 20% to load speed and 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules for, again, 15 seconds with a 75-second cooldown. So, yeah, you could go with adrenaline, and then whack on a couple of multi-purpose restoration packs, which extinguishes fire, repairs all damaged modules, and heals all injured crew members. with again 90-second cooldown. And if you're wondering why I'm not using one of these and several of these, is because I think it's just more worthwhile to have the individual things, because what I always say in every review, I'm getting bored of saying it now, but if you're coming to this review for the first time of something on Blitz, then I'll need to go over it. Which is that, say your track gets blown off, and all you have is a multi-purpose restoration pack. So say you've got an engine power boost, an adrenaline, and a multi-purpose restoration pack lined up as your 3 consumables. So, yeah, you've used that, alright, so yeah, you've used them worthwhile. Then your track gets blown off, and you're in a really bad spot. You were crossing some open ground, your track gets blown off, you're stuck in front of, 3 enemy tanks. And so you use your multi-purpose restoration pack and you get your track up. So you start driving again. The next shot that hits you, you get set on fire. What do? You've used your multi-purpose restoration pack to repair your track. You can't use it again for another 90 seconds. You're on fire, but you don't have a fire extinguisher because you've used your multi-purpose restoration pack. What do? You can't do anything. You can only burn. Which is why I go with the individual ones, because although I'm sacrificing these 2, which I wouldn't use anyway probably, I'd forget they're there, which is why I can use the repair kit to repair my track, then I can have the automatic fire extinguisher to just instantly put out the fire. So, yeah, that's why I go with the individual ones. Plus I'm just used to it from PC World of Tanks. So, there's that. Then you've got your skills. Blitz does crew skills differently, so it's as to what you want. I've trained Adrenaline Rush twice, accelerates gun loading by 2% now, for when the vehicle has less than 15% HP remaining. Of course, trained to level 2, so it gets 2%, can stack to a maximum of 6, and the way you do this is that you just start training, like I am with this one. Once it's trained to level 1, you can get a choice of either switching to a new one, or just continue training to the next level. And then, of course, every level, it increases in XP amount. So, the way Blitz skills work is that you don't have a particular skill for each tank. You have one tank type, and every crew for that tank type, when they're at 100%, start training the skill that you've chosen. So I can choose to switch from training to robustness to say close combat master, but I don't want to. I want to continue training this, which is why I've started it. And then for a couple of these other ones, I've also started training. For light tanks, you've got different skills. For medium tanks, you've got different skills. For heavy tanks and tank destroyers. So, yeah, I mean, it's each to your own, really, as to whether or not you want to train Adrenaline Rush. You could want to train firefighting. For all I know, you could want repairs. But, so, yeah, I can't really tell you how to do your crew skills. Once again, it's each to your own. So, that's everything. The T14. It's a pretty solidly armoured heavy tank, but the gun is not particularly great at all. I mean, it's like the Excelsior. The Excelsior has got good armour. However, it doesn't have a very good gun. This is the American equivalent of the Excelsior. That's what you can think of this as. So if you've used the Excelsior and you're proficient with the Excelsior, then you'll do perfectly well, I think, in this tank, because it's the same sort of thing. It's got very strong armor. It doesn't quite have the maneuverability and speed of the Excelsior, but it does have pretty good armor. So it's very much a brawling tank. It's not a sniper tank. It's like the Excelsior. It has pretty good armor, but a terrible gun. So, yeah, if you like the Excelsior, then you'll like this tank. So, yeah, the T14. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.